My name's Raymond Ellis. I gave Westbridge Financial 29 years of my life. I missed birthdays. I stayed late. I trained their new hires, fixed their mistakes, and held that place together through more than one financial storm. I was loyal. I didn't ask for much, just a quiet exit, a few handshakes, maybe a slice of cake and a thank you on the way out. But instead, 6 months before my planned retirement, they fired me, just like that. No warning, no appreciation, just a cold letter across a polished desk and a forced smile from a man young enough to be my son. They thought they could erase me. They thought I'd disappear quietly, holding a box of memories and a heart full of disappointment. But what they didn't know was that they hadn't fired a man. They'd freed one. And when I walked out of that office, I didn't just take my coat and my dignity. I took the one thing they never really owned, my clients, and I brought them with me. I started at Westbridge Financial when I was 35 years old. Back then I was fresh-faced, eager, and full of purpose. I had just become a father, and I needed stability. The firm was small, 10 employees, one break-room coffee pot that never worked right, and paper records stacked ceiling-high in dusty file cabinets. But there was heart in that place. Clients walked in and were greeted with handshakes and familiarity. We weren't just managing money. We were building trust, one family at a time. In those early years, I worked late into the evenings. I met clients after hours if needed. I sat at kitchen tables helping couples figure out how to send their kids to college. I walked retirees through their pension options and estate planning while their dogs barked at my feet. People weren't just numbers, they were stories. I remembered birthdays. I showed up at funerals. I got Christmas cards from clients. And over time, something special happened. I became the guy they called, not the company. As decades passed, I built a strong, loyal client base. Many of them stayed with me from their first paychecks through retirement. My book, as the firm called it, became one of the largest in the office. But I never let it go to my head. I just kept doing what I'd always done. Show up, listen, and do right by the people who trusted me. Then, 3 years before my planned retirement, the company changed. The founders sold it. A new group took over. Young, sharp, polished. They brought in flashy screens, sales dashboards, and aggressive quotas. The culture shifted overnight. Clients were suddenly revenue sources. Conversations turned from relationship building to upselling financial products. I could feel myself fading from their vision. Too slow, too traditional, too old school. Still, I kept showing up. I thought, just hang on a few more years. Get the watch, the thank you, the handshake. Retire with grace. But then came the Thursday afternoon I won't forget. I was called into the new director's office. Ben, a man half my age who once asked me what a fax machine was. Sitting beside him were 2 HR reps. They didn't even offer coffee. "Raymond," Ben began, "this isn't personal. We're restructuring to align with future goals. Today will be your last day. No warning, no gratitude, no respect. Just a printed letter, a thin severance package, and an empty box for my belongings." I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just looked at them and said, "I trained half this office." Ben gave me a thin smile, and we're grateful for that. Grateful? They erased me like a chalk mark on a whiteboard. But they forgot something. The chalk might be gone, but the impression? That stays. And that day, I made a silent decision. If they didn't think I was worth a seat at their table anymore, I'd build my own table, and the chairs would fill fast. I walked out of that office with a cardboard box in my hands and 29 years of quiet dignity in my chest. I didn't say goodbye to most of the staff. I could tell who had known and who hadn't. Some looked away. A few offered quick, guilty nods. Ben? He didn't even walk me to the elevator. I carried that box to my car like I was carrying the last piece of a story someone else decided to end. But here's the thing. I've never been good at letting other people write my endings. That night, I didn't eat much. I sat in my garage, alone, flipping through old client notes I had kept over the years. Not sensitive documents, just cards, letters, scribbled thank yous. One from a woman named Barbara who once said, "You've been more family to us than our own cousins." Another from Tom who wrote, "Thanks for talking me down when the market crashed. You didn't just protect my money, you protected my peace." That's when it hit me. They didn't fire me. They freed me. Westbridge could take my title, my desk, even my email login, but they couldn't take what mattered: trust. These clients didn't stay because of the logo on my business card. They stayed because of me, the hours I gave them, the way I explained complex retirement options in plain language, the care I showed when their lives fell apart or came together. So, I made a call the next morning. Gary Jennings. We'd worked together 20 years back. He'd started his own independent firm after retiring early. Still sharp, still respected. I asked if he had a corner to spare. He laughed and said, "For you, I'll make room." By Monday, I had a desk, a phone, and a clean slate. I ordered new business cards, no flashy branding, just my name, my values, and a promise that nothing had changed except the roof over my head. I didn't cold call. I didn't beg. I just reached out one by one. "Hey, it's Ray. Just wanted you to hear it from me. Westbridge let me go, but I'm still here, and I'd be honored to continue working with you if you ever need anything." No pressure, no hard sell. But the response? Overwhelming. One by one they asked, "Where are you now?" Some even said, "I've been waiting for a reason to leave them." I kept everything ethical. I had no contracts binding me. I didn't take files. I didn't violate privacy. But the truth is, relationships can't be stolen. They follow where they're nurtured. And slowly, call by call, my old book began to rebuild. Only this time, it was mine. They thought they'd sent me into retirement, but what they really did was give me a head start on my legacy. I wasn't trying to make headlines. I didn't want revenge in the Hollywood sense. No drama, no lawsuits, no slamming doors. I just wanted to keep doing what I had always done, take care of people. And that's exactly what I did. Within 2 months, I had welcomed back more than 40 of my longtime clients. Some reached out the moment they heard the news. Others came slowly, after seeing how Westbridge treated their accounts without me there. A few came back out of principle. One even said, "If they did that to you, what does that say about how they see the rest of us?" At Gary's office, the walls started to feel tight. He had to knock out a back wall just to make room for another filing cabinet and a second desk. I didn't mind the mess. It reminded me of the early days. Simple, honest, and real. No corporate lingo. No cold suits staring at graphs, just people and plans and a promise to help them sleep better at night. Meanwhile, I started hearing things about Westbridge. Clients who stayed behind called me to say they'd been transferred to reps who didn't know their names, didn't understand their goals, and treated every meeting like a transaction. Some said they waited weeks for a callback. One man told me his portfolio was completely rearranged without so much as a consultation. And then, like clockwork, I got the letter. A formal envelope from Westbridge's legal department. Polite, professional, and nervous. They referenced client communication protocols and intellectual property concerns. They never accused me directly, but they were clearly shaken. I sent back a single sentence. "I have only answered calls I received. They never followed up." A few months later, I ran into Ben, the man who fired me, at a community charity auction. He looked thinner, tired. Maybe it was the job. Maybe it was the realization that cutting a man loose isn't the same as replacing him. He tried to be polite, asked how I was doing. I smiled, told him I was doing what I've always done, serving people, one family at a time. He nodded, trying to hide something behind his eyes. Maybe regret, maybe embarrassment. I didn't need to know. That night I sat on my front porch, the air cool and quiet, and sipped coffee from a mug I'd received as a retirement gift from a client, not from Westbridge. It read, "You made our future feel safe." I realized then that I hadn't just bounced back. I had built something better, without bitterness, without noise, just with quiet resilience and truth. Westbridge tried to push me out of the story, but I wrote my own ending, and this time, it was one worth reading. I used to think retirement would come with a ceremony, a gold watch maybe, a round of applause, a few words of thanks from someone who barely knew my name. I imagined myself standing at the front of the conference room, smiling politely while someone read off a list of my contributions like a grocery receipt. I would nod, accept the plaque, shake hands, and disappear. But now, looking back, I realize I'm glad it didn't happen that way. What Westbridge gave me wasn't a ceremony. It wasn't gratitude, but it was something far more valuable: clarity. They showed me exactly how much, or how little, I meant to them when push came to shove. And while that hurt at first, it also opened my eyes. It reminded me that corporations don't have hearts. People do. Loyalty doesn't live in logos. It lives in trust, in relationships, in the quiet, consistent work you do when no one's watching. When they fired me, they thought they were cutting costs. What they really did was release me from a system that had long stopped seeing me. They let me walk away before I had to pretend I believed in their new direction. They let me rediscover purpose on my own terms. And the truth is, I didn't retire when they told me to. I retired when I was ready, after I'd rebuilt my foundation, served my clients one more time, and left a mark that didn't need approval from a boardroom. I still wake up early most mornings, not because I have to, but because I want to. Sometimes I still take client calls, though now they're from friends. People who trust me not because my name is on a company letterhead, but because I've earned that trust over decades. My desk is smaller now. The walls aren't lined with company slogans, but my heart is full. And that's something Westbridge never had the power to take from me. To anyone listening who's been pushed aside, told they're too old, or made to feel like their best days are behind them, don't believe it. Your value doesn't expire with a birthday. Your wisdom doesn't get erased by someone else's spreadsheet, and your worth is not up for negotiation. If they shut the door on you, don't knock again. Build your own door, and when it opens, walk through it with your head held high. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving to yourself that you were always right to believe in your own worth.